Hi guys, my name is Fabio Palvelli. I'm a designer and every week I share a bit of my life on video, as well as some tips and tricks on how to be a better designer. So if you're new here, please do consider subscribing. A lot of people always ask me, how do you get so much work done? They see me posting videos, they see me posting projects, now a little bit less because of other commitments, but that's another story. They see me active in the community, they see the work that we do with the D2 conference. Anyway, the question is always the same. How do you manage to produce so much great content in such a short time? First of all, thank you very much for thinking that my content is great. Until recently, only my mom thought my content was great. Hi mom, I miss you. Now, I trust that if you come to my channel, it's because you're realizing the importance of understanding the business side of being an artist. Business isn't necessarily only about numbers, budgets, predictions. There are so many sides of understanding business that can be easily understood and implemented in your workflow to start immediately boosting your productivity, get more clients, get paid better. This week, we will focus on the productivity part. Have you ever heard of the Pareto Principle? At the beginning of the 20th century, Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto found out that 80% of the land of Italy was owned by 20% of its people. In his research studies, Pareto observed that this kind of weird ratio, 80-20%, was prominent in all sorts of things, like transportation and mass production. 20% of the Italian roads contain 80% of the whole Italian traffic, 80% of food was produced by 20% of the companies in the Italian market. For a letter to go from a post office in Napoli all the way to a specific address just outside of Milano, 20% of the work was needed to take the letter from Napoli to Milano post office, and the remaining 80% of the work was needed to take the letter from Milano post office to the final destination, which was about 20% of the total travel. Still today, Amazon currently uses 20% of their postal resources to ship packages all around the world, and 80% of their resources to deliver the packages from their local warehouses to the final destination. 80% of complaints about Apple products come from 20% of its clients, 80% of the car industry is dominated by 20% of the brands. To be honest, sometimes the percentage does shift a little bit, 70-30, 60-40, but you get the idea. Important from a business standpoint is keeping above that 50-50 threshold, which ultimately means producing more value than the effort you put in to produce it. There is a book from Richard Koch, The 80-20 Principle. It is only a couple of dollars on Kindle. It is a very fast read. I can only recommend it. It's not a sponsored ad. Let's move on. In business, the same ratio is used as a benchmark to optimize the relationship between effort and result. Ideally, when running a business, there should always be a 20% effort leading to an 80% result. It doesn't happen always, but when it does, yay! 80-20, 80-20. How can I use 20% effort to reach an 80% result? A question you might be asking yourself is it worth to then use the 80% effort to fulfill that extra 20% result? Excellent question, the good but not perfect dilemma. Maybe we will answer in another video, not today. The cool news is that as a designer, you can also take advantage of this principle. To start with, make a list of the 5 most important things you have to do today. Try to plan ahead. Understand which of these 5 items can give you the most value with the least work, so that then you have enough time and resources to then take care of the rest. In other words, how can you achieve 80% of the result by implementing 20% of your resources? Real life example. When working on a rendering project, after a first consultation with the client and after understanding what they are after, whoa, that's a lot of after, I will set up a scene with a camera, main light, HDRI because of the reflections, beautiful colors, thank you Peter Guthrie. Of course, some trees, cars, people, all pre-made assets, implemented quickly. As my client liked to say, quick and dirty, but nice. I will also go as far as making some material suggestions, render a picture that it's very much almost complete. This gives me the chance to contact the client and get the quickest, more productive, feedback about the image. The client then will make comments, make changes, but this part it's usually pretty easy. If, of course, you manage the communication in the proper way, or unless you made a horrible mistake in translating your client's ideas, then we're screwed. Funny thing is that about 80% of my clients react better to a more complete preview of a rendering than if we were to send a simple clay view. Also, 80% of my clients' complaints come from that remaining 20%, not a coincidence. If I have to make a new video, say like this one, 80% of my effort will be sketching out an idea with a draft for a script. That kinda makes sense. That initial idea will work as a fire starter, giving me only 20% of the result. I will then spend the rest of the week working on that idea, writing a more extended script, making some research, shooting videos, cutting them together, and so on and so forth. But without the idea to start with, I would have nothing. As you can understand, the process should be reversed. 20% effort, 80% result. Currently, in an effort to optimize this process, I am taking acting classes, directing classes, and writing classes, because I know that fixing any of these three areas will bring me closer or above the 50-50 threshold we just discussed, and hopefully one day to the famous 80-20. 80-20, 80-20. Put it in your head. It is hard to know for sure what it is that will give you 80% result with 20% effort. I think I know what works for me, kinda. Maybe now it is time for you to learn what works for you. My name is Fabio Palvelli, and as always, thanks for watching.